Hey, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah. This is the Midwest Writing Center, sort of. And here we are today. For folks who maybe have never watched any of our videos before, what we're going to do is I'm going to give this little spiel where I talk about what we're doing. Then we'll get to the meat and potatoes, the reason that we have whatever today's video is. Then I'll give updates on the Midwest Writing Center and then a writing prompt. About half the time, once a week, we've got a wonderful guest who's an expert on something literary or something in the arts. And once a week, I give real short little writing lessons. Today is less a lesson, more talk on holiday specials. So I've been thinking a lot, people always want to, people are always really busy at the end of the year, which sort of seems counterintuitive to me. Like, this is the time I would think we would slow down. It's cold. Folks are with their families. Like, why would we do extra things? But we do. And one of the like leisure activity, this is backwards. One of the leisure activities people engage in is traditions, right? And traditions are totally different from what I'm going for today, but not so far off. One of those traditions is the holiday special. Now this can be a lot of things, right? This could be like the elementary schools putting on a show for the end of the year. It could be Hallmark or Lifetime, they have a marathon of cheesy happy movies where everything's okay in the end, and plus also it's a holiday. And then of course there are traditions that include story. They all include story. I mean, every song is a story, every movie is a story, and every book is a story. And so I was thinking we could do a little bit of a how-to and a little bit of a, I don't want to pretend that the end of the year, the holiday season, doesn't bring up a lot of feelings of all kinds for everyone. I think what we see a lot of the time is people have really strong feelings and they're either negative or they're positive. There's not a lot of neutrality and there's not a lot of I'm excited, but the end. People have bad feelings for all sorts of reasons. Either they don't have what they see on TV and that makes them sad, or they are missing someone, or have bad memories, right? And a lot of people have good feelings for a lot of reasons. We anytime I think as a culture we engage with festivity, we're creating fanfare, we're creating something to be excited about, and that's something as humans we look forward to. Anyway, I want to acknowledge that the tradition of the holiday special can give people lots of feelings of all kinds. And I think the holiday special is pretty much always happy. Or the point of it is, right? So let's get into it. We've got a couple of categories, right? We've got the didactic holiday special. That's your Christmas Carol. That's your It's a Wonderful Life. Might even be your Rudolph's. Now the didactic, of course, means a lesson. There's a lesson here. With It's a Wonderful Life, we're learning about what our priorities are and should be and how each life matters, has impact. And also that poverty is bad. From Rudolph, don't discount the outcast, or if you're super cynical, you're going to be an outcast until you're useful. I don't love that take, but I like to be an optimist. What was the other one? Christmas Carol, of course, that's also about greed and empathy and learning our impact. I guess you could probably say that Rudolph also is about learning our impact. And then there's I don't want to get into branding. But there's the Hallmark story, right? For whatever reason, someone ends up either in a totally unknown place or the world's most familiar place, right? Either totally unknown, probably a small town, or home, also probably a small town. Just kind of fun. People are from cities. Like some people are born there and live there. But something has gone wrong to get them in this situation. They are very frustrated. And I will say it's not didactic for the audience. It is didactic in that the main character, the protagonist, is definitely going to learn something about life or their own judgments. But for the audience, I think it's pretty much just fun, just a romp. The conflict in these stories tends to be one very large thing at the beginning that puts them in whatever this situation is, in what is probably a small town. And then later shifts as the narrator's priority shifts. So hypothetically, if you wanted to write a holiday special, you've got a strong main character, you probably do a day in the life for a scene or two, or a few pages. So we build a little bit of character, we know what their life is like, we know their best friend's name, we know their daily routine. Then something happens and they go back to their hometown. So this is our lesson. We're learning how to write a holiday special. And I'm going to, spoiler alert, that's going to be the prompt. I'm going to do it with you and I'll post it when I come up with one. And we're all going to judge me for it. And that's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be an example. So yeah, we start out day in the life. I would say we're going to do it third person. A lot of the time these have narrators when they're movies. And I think usually the narrator is third person omniscient, which is fun. So that's what I would do. I would do it in third person, but you can definitely do it in first person. But I feel like that's not the most common thing. We're living the life of our protagonist, but I don't think we are the protagonist. It's interesting to think about. You're welcome to think about it all you want. I'm going with third person omniscient. You can also do like personal, right? So the third person narrator has our protagonist thoughts. May express the same feelings as the narrator, but might also know what this person over here is doing, who's not the narrator. And I guess that's it. That's why I think that it's third person, is because we're going to sometimes not be in the head of the narrator. We're going to sometimes be looking at what's happening that's going to create the conflict. So we open with a day in the life, then whatever it is happens. Maybe it's a holiday, maybe it's an emergency, maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's a missed flight, whatever it is, we end up in either our hometown or a random small town. I will say if it's a random small town, I absolutely, again, this is just following the tropes and the storyline of these holiday specials. I'm not saying this is the way to do it outside of that paradigm. But I do think that if it is a random small town, the protagonist must be cosmopolitan. This has to be really taking them out of their own routines and their own comfort zones. For the person who goes back to their hometown, they hate their hometown. They resent their hometown. They haven't been back since they left. Not to visit, not anything. And so either way, our protagonist is turning their nose up, is a little judgy, is a little snooty about being in this place where they are. And probably the conflict of the story, or so it seems, is the thing that got us to this town. Then we have a new set of circumstances, and we're doing another day in the life. It's another couple of pages on what appears to be the normal way of things in this town for our protagonist. So they're still new or newish, right? Even if this is their hometown, they're newish. They have all their judgments that are 15 years old, 20 years old, 10 years old. I don't know how old your protagonist is. And that's what's in their head. That's what's guiding their movement through this town that is their hometown. And they're just now learning that things change, or that maybe they were wrong in their youth and they kept their childish point of views. Either way. So if we go with random small town, we've got our city judgments, and we are highfalutin and posh and too good for this nonsense. And if we have our hometown, then we are being forced to face our own preconceptions. I mean, either way, they're being forced to face their own preconceptions, but it's the difference is that the judgments came from personal experience if it's the hometown. Okay. So we've got a day where they wake up and live their life in this small town or hometown. I'm guessing there's a love story here. So they're gonna have to have met some kind of cutie on their way into town. Have to have. That's gotta be in as soon as they get to town. Maybe it is the hotelier. Try to be fancy when I said that. But maybe it's the person who runs the place where they're staying. Maybe they ran their car into this person. Maybe it's their parents' neighbor. Maybe it's their high school sweetheart. But somebody they see when they get to town, and they get to town unhappy. Next day, they're definitely running into that person, and they're definitely trying to get their bearings in this town. And they're going through life having all these new experiences, even if they grew up here. And they're very uncomfortable. We've got to have at least one full day in this setting. We're definitely going to see the cutie patootie a couple of times. A lot of these stories take place over a week. Some of them are like 24, 48 hours. Very few are more than a week, but they exist. So it's up to you how long it lasts, how slowly that relationship builds, how slowly the romantic relationship, and also how slowly the relationship builds with the town themselves and the people. So when I say the town, I mean the physical location and the culture of it, but also the people who are helping them, because it's not just going to be romantic buddy over here. It's also going to be parents or family members or high school friends or the mayor or the person who owns the stable. It's your town, you decide. You're gonna have a cast of characters, and they're all part of the awakening of our narrator. So you need, I would say, probably at least 5 characters with names. Then the new day in the life, you gotta have all the things that you, I guess, would think of as a traditional day if you're not home and you have cash, right? So we're gonna wake up, maybe we're in a hotel, maybe we're in mom's house, maybe we're whatever, a bed and breakfast. A bread and breakfast sounds good too. I like bread. Wherever it is they're staying, they gotta wake up and then interact with somebody. Probably doesn't matter if they interact with somebody before they leave the building or not. They gotta go get coffee, tea, breakfast, pastries, whatever it is. They gotta walk around town and run their errands or explore or try to get cell reception, whatever it is, because this person's not happy to be there. Maybe they're trying to leave. That could be a good thing. Maybe for whatever reason, this town doesn't have Wi-Fi. Or, I don't have cell service, so I need Wi-Fi, but I can't go to the cafe if I don't buy anything and my wallet got lost. lots of options for small conflicts. And the day needs to be full of small conflicts, such as, um, I'm here without my luggage, and or I'm here without my wallet, or whatever it is that the big conflict was. Maybe I came to town because my parent is sick. Um, that's if I went to my hometown. Um, but it's always reluctant. We got to remember it's reluctant. We didn't come here out of, the kindness of, we didn't come here because we wanted to. So a couple of days getting used to the town. Things need to change gradually. We need to have lots of relationship building in the romantic relationship and also with the community. And I am here for a story that does not have a romantic relationship, but trope-wise, these always do. Yeah. So they also tend to have a little bit of humor. I'm not very funny. I don't know how to write that. I do intend to have a comic on eventually. I've been working on that off and on for 3 years. Um, so sorry about that. Um, and then of course, we're going to have a new conflict. Probably what's going to happen is finally, me, the protagonist, I am able to leave. But I kind of don't want to. Weird. But I probably will leave. I probably will leave, and I'll probably leave in a very dramatic way with lots of loose ends. And then whatever it is, it's gonna stop me from leaving or is going to bring me back. Now if the only conflict in the beginning was like my car broke down somehow, I'm very wealthy and never noticed that I needed to get gas or something. Right, private plane, or I got lost skiing. I don't know. Be creative. It can be anything. These things can be wild. um, and then I finally got service, but I don't know. I want to go on a date with this guy, or I worked so hard to help the pageant go off, and now I don't get to see the pageant. Or maybe there's some work emergency that's going to bring me back home, back to my new big city home. Or my parent who's sick is out of the hospital. You need a second conflict. And most of the time, the second conflict is the resolution of the first conflict. Doesn't have to be. That's what we normally see though. If we're following this formula, that's the formula. Now, of course, the resolution of the second conflict is deciding to stay. Now, maybe not forever. That one can go either way. It could be, I'm in love with you, let's move to the city together. It could be, I'm so glad that we were able to get your health in order. I'm never going to stay away for this long again. And also, here's a puppy. Yeah. So I don't watch a ton of these, and I feel like that's it. Like that's the formula. I don't watch a ton of these, but I really like them. I actually don't watch a ton of TV. It's something I kind of wish I watched more, to be honest. Because it is a maybe not easy, but it's a low effort way to intake story, right? To consume stories, to watch TV. It takes a little more effort to read. And I think they're very fun. And I know something that I'm kind of working on with Write More Light in general, with the activities we do at the center in general, is to have conversations that are a little less highbrow. In the literary world, we have lots of things that are like, this is literary. And, so we can only talk about things as they apply to like old names and really big contemporary names. And That's just not, first, that's not what we do at the center. Um, but that's just not where stories live. Stories don't belong only to the wealthy, or the dead, or the affluent, or the majority, wealthy and affluent. So I want to actively engage with folks who write genre. Genre is usually sci-fi fantasy. It's usually what we mean, but it also means comics, and it also means children's lit. Um, and it also means the stuff that we just read for fun. Those of us who love reading, those of us who love writing, we started reading for fun. We got engaged with this stuff for fun. And a lot of the times when we get really into this world, really into literature, we forget that. I do that, and it's not on purpose, and it's not consciously, but I'll be reading something and I will really love the thing I'm reading, and I'll start studying it. I will start to take it very, very seriously, and that takes some of the enjoyment out. And I don't mean to do it. It's because I love it that I get so excited. But it takes some of the enjoyment out because I start to be analytical. Um, and so that I think is especially where we need to slow down and remember why we love reading. And it's because I mean, we all have our own reasons for loving reading, but it's in large part because it takes us out of ourselves and takes us somewhere else. And most of us don't have a perfect doppelganger who's a princess and we're gonna go spend Christmas in their palace. And so it's okay to want to watch that movie. And it's okay to like it. So I think that it's a really good exercise for all of us to try to write something really fun. And I see, and we'll be talking with Misty Urban in January. Misty Urban just wrote a historical fiction, or just published, I'm sure she wrote it some time ago, a historical fiction romance. But fun. She's a very serious scholar of medieval feminism. She's got a doctorate, she's a professor, and she has fun. She hasn't forgotten why she loves writing. I guess we're just gonna march straight into what's coming up. On Thursday this week, we're gonna have Tamara Boyajian come back. Last time we spoke with her, we spoke about literature, reading and writing in endangered languages, but she's also a YA fantasy author. Which I guess hits my point right there square again, that we can be serious and we can have fun. So that's today's prompt is to write yourself a holiday special. And you know what? Make it silly. Make up a holiday. Make it be in the summer. Although, it's summer in the southern hemisphere, actually. Make it not, make up a religion. Make it not religious. Make it be like the country bumpkin comes into the big city, and I don't know, I don't like that story as much. I'm gonna give updates on the Midwest Writing Center now. First, I already said this Thursday on Write More Light, we will have Tamara Boyajian talking about YA fantasy, maybe children's fantasy, actually. I'm really excited. When I got into reading in the first place, it was fantasy. It was Madeline L'Engle was like the biggest name in my world. A Wrinkle in Time just couldn't be beat. Led me to all sorts of other really great stuff. Eva Ibbotson and like Roald Dahl, stuff everyone knows because it's awesome. Then I think I have the upcoming, nope, I don't have upcoming Write More Light on my screen. So we would very much like to ask you to donate to the Midwest Writing Center this holiday season. We are in our year-end giving campaign currently. This year we were able to partner with over 22 local organizations and a few not so local organizations, and provide scholarships or free programming with every time we did a program. We also received less funding this year, and we were able to do as many programs as ever, but also hire more interns and pay more instructors. And so money given to the Midwest Writing Center goes directly into the hands of artists, which means that you're creating art. Also, money spent locally stays local much longer than I want to say like 8 times as long as money spent non-locally, which is really exciting. It's very cool. Our first program in January, of course, Write More Light is going to be ongoing. There are a few dates that will be off, and I will be out of town a bit in January, so we're going to do a little bit of a J turn. Hi, sweetie. January 18th, though, Iowa Writers Workshop alum and very cool person, Logan Hoffman Smith, will be leading a workshop with us. It'll be on Zoom, called Vertical Moments in Fiction. It's going to be very, very cool. It's not yet on our website, but I am very happy to announce it now. We'll be announcing the Collins Writers Conference in January. We'll have a couple other things debut in January. But for now, for the end of the year, we want you to submit to the Radical Hospitality Project. That is, I'm going to sneeze and I'm just waiting for it to come. Excuse me. Radical Hospitality Project, we're looking for folks to write up to 30 lines of poetry, up to 500 words of prose, any genre, whatever comes naturally. On the topic of radical hospitality, the shorthand definition of that is welcoming the stranger. Talk about a time when you've been welcomed. We can talk about a time when we have welcomed another. We can talk about treating others as we want to be treated. We're treating others as though better than you want to be treated. Selected works for that anthology will receive $100, and then further opportunities to win up to $500 following that. So there's not really any reason not to submit. Preference goes to local writers, but local meaning in the 6-county service area of the Quad Cities. So Henry, Rock Island, and Mercer counties in Illinois, and Clinton, Scott, and Muscatine counties in Iowa. We're also still accepting submissions until December 31st to the Foster Stall Chapbook series, again, of any genre. Full information for both of these things is on our website, mwcqc.org. Yeah, please set yourself a 5-minute timer and do your best to write a holiday special. As always, please write more light into your life. Thanks for hanging out with me.